Hello, everyone. When someone with malicious intent realizes that you've uncovered their true nature, their response is rarely one of accountability. Instead, their actions reveal a deeper layer of their character as they attempt to protect themselves and their agenda. Let's explore 7 things these individuals often do when they know you've caught on to their behavior. When people with malicious intent realize you've uncovered their behavior, they often resort to psychological manipulation as a first line of defense. Manipulation is their way of regaining control, as it allows them to distort the situation in a way that benefits them and destabilizes you. This behavior isn't just an impulsive reaction, it's a calculated strategy rooted in their desire to maintain power over the narrative and ultimately over you. Understanding how this manipulation unfolds is critical to protecting yourself and maintaining your sense of clarity. The first thing to recognize is that manipulation is often subtle. It begins with small actions meant to make you doubt yourself. For instance, they might insist that you're being too sensitive or that you've misinterpreted their actions. These statements are designed to plant seeds of uncertainty in your mind, making you question whether your perception of their behavior is accurate. By shifting the focus onto your supposed overreaction, they divert attention away from their actions and onto your response. This tactic not only allows them to avoid accountability, but also keeps you preoccupied with defending yourself rather than addressing the real issue. Now, another common method of manipulation is creating confusion. They may offer conflicting explanations for their behavior, making it difficult for you to piece together the truth. For example, if you confront them about a specific incident, they might change their story multiple times or provide vague answers that leave you feeling more uncertain than before. This tactic, often referred to as obfuscation, serves to exhaust you mentally and emotionally. Over time, you might find yourself so drained from trying to make sense of their behavior that you begin to let things go, which is exactly what they want. Emotional manipulation is another powerful tool in their arsenal. Once they know you've seen through their facade, they may attempt to play on your emotions to gain your sympathy or guilt you into backing down. They might cry, express remorse, or share a sob story about how they've been misunderstood or hurt in the past. While this can appear genuine on the surface, it's important to look at the pattern of their behavior. If their actions don't align with their words, it's likely just another tactic to manipulate your emotions and regain your trust. Manipulators also exploit your desire for peace and resolution. If you're someone who values harmony in your relationships, they might use this against you by creating drama and chaos until you're willing to do whatever it takes to restore balance. This could involve apologizing for things you didn't do, tolerating unacceptable behavior, or even taking on the blame yourself. The more you give in to their demands, the more control they have, as they've learned they can manipulate you into submission by disrupting your sense of stability. One of the more dangerous aspects of psychological manipulation is how it can isolate you from others. Once exposed, manipulative individuals often work to discredit you, not only to protect their image, but also to weaken your support system. They might speak negatively about you to mutual acquaintances, exaggerating or fabricating details to make you look unreliable or unreasonable. This can leave you feeling alone and doubting whether others will believe your side of the story, which is precisely the position they want you in. Isolation gives them more power, as it reduces the chances of you finding external validation or support. Manipulators are also adept at exploiting your fears and insecurities. They pay close attention to what makes you feel vulnerable and use that knowledge to their advantage. For example, if they know you fear being seen as unkind or judgmental, they may accuse you of being heartless when you try to hold them accountable. This tactic not only deflects attention from their behavior, but also makes you hesitant to address the issue further, as you don't want to be perceived in a negative light. By playing on your vulnerabilities, they create an environment where you feel trapped, unsure of how to respond without compromising your values. It's important to understand that psychological manipulation thrives on your willingness to engage with it. The more you try to explain yourself, defend your perspective, or seek their validation, the more opportunities they have to twist the narrative. This is why maintaining emotional distance is crucial. Recognize when you're being drawn into a manipulative dynamic and resist the urge to react. Instead, take a step back and evaluate the situation from a place of clarity. Seek input from trusted friends or mentors who can provide an objective perspective and reinforce your understanding of the truth. Psychological manipulation is a tool used by those who fear exposure and accountability. It's a means of maintaining power in a situation where their control is slipping away. By recognizing these tactics for what they are, you can protect yourself from being ensnared in their web. Stay grounded in your reality, trust your instincts, and remember that their manipulative behavior is not a reflection of your worth, but a testament to their inability to face the truth. When malicious individuals realize you've seen through their facade, one of the first things they often do is shift the blame onto you. This tactic is designed to protect their image while simultaneously placing the burden of guilt and responsibility on your shoulders. Blame shifting is not just a defensive mechanism, it's a deliberate strategy to manipulate the situation, confuse you, and deflect accountability for their actions. By understanding how this behavior unfolds, you can prepare yourself to resist its effects and maintain clarity about what's truly happening. Blame shifting begins with subtle accusations, often couched in language that seems reasonable or even caring. For instance, they might say, "I only did that because you made me feel like I had no other choice," or "If you hadn't done X, I wouldn't have had to react that way." At first glance, these statements may sound like attempts to explain their behavior, but they are, in fact, designed to make you question your role in the situation. By framing their actions as a reaction to something you supposedly did, they absolve themselves of responsibility and place the blame squarely on you. This tactic is particularly insidious because it taps into your natural inclination to reflect on your own behavior. If you're someone who values accountability and fairness, you might find yourself genuinely considering whether you could have done something differently to avoid the conflict. This self-reflection, while healthy in balanced relationships, can be weaponized by blame shifters to keep you second-guessing yourself. Over time, this dynamic can erode your confidence and make you hesitant to confront them again, as you've been conditioned to believe that any issue will somehow be turned back on you. Blame shifting often goes hand in hand with projection. This is when the individual accuses you of the very behaviors they are guilty of. For example, if they have been dishonest, they might accuse you of lying. If they've been neglectful or abusive, they'll claim that you're the one who's been unfair or hurtful. Projection serves a dual purpose. It not only distracts from their behavior, but also puts you on the defensive. Instead of focusing on holding them accountable, you find yourself trying to disprove their accusations, which shifts the power dynamic in their favor. Another hallmark of blame shifting is their ability to twist the narrative in a way that makes them appear as the victim. They may recount events with a skewed perspective, emphasizing how your actions or even your reactions to their behavior have caused them harm. For instance, if you confront them about their dishonesty, they might respond by saying, "I can't believe you don't trust me, and after everything I've done for you." This tactic not only shifts the blame onto you, but also seeks to elicit guilt, making it harder for you to stand firm in your position. Their goal is to make you feel so bad about supposedly hurting them that you abandon your efforts to hold them accountable. Blame shifting can also escalate to involve other people. Manipulative individuals may bring in third parties to reinforce their narrative, often painting you as unreasonable or overly critical. They might say things like, "Even so-and-so thinks you're being unfair," or "I've talked to others and they agree that you're overreacting." By doing this, they create the illusion that their perspective is validated by others, further isolating you and making you doubt your own judgment. In many cases, these others either don't exist, have been misled, or are unaware of the full context, but the manipulator uses their supposed opinions as leverage to discredit you. One of the most harmful effects of blame shifting is the way it disrupts your ability to trust your own perceptions. When every confrontation is turned into an indictment of your character or actions, you may begin to question whether you're the problem. This self-doubt can be paralyzing, preventing you from addressing the root cause of the conflict and leaving you vulnerable to further manipulation. Your anxiety, it's a vicious cycle. The more you try to engage with them in good faith, the more opportunities they have to twist the narrative and reinforce your doubts. It's important to recognize that blame shifting is not about finding resolution or understanding, it's about maintaining control. The individual is not interested in reflecting on their actions or making amends. Their primary goal is to protect their ego and avoid facing the consequences of their behavior. This is why attempts to reason with them often feel futile. No matter how calmly or clearly you present your perspective, they will find a way to redirect the conversation back onto you. The most effective way to counter blame shifting is to stay grounded in your truth. Resist the urge to defend yourself against every accusation or justify your actions, as this only gives them more opportunities to manipulate the situation. Instead, focus on the facts and maintain firm boundaries. For example, if they try to shift the blame, you can respond by saying, "I'm not here to discuss what you think I did wrong. I'm here to address your behavior." This approach keeps the focus on their actions and minimizes the chances of being derailed by their tactics. Blame shifting is a reflection of their inability to take responsibility for their behavior. It's a tool they use to avoid accountability and maintain control, but it doesn't change the truth of what you've seen and experienced. By recognizing this tactic for what it is, you can protect yourself from its effects and maintain your sense of clarity and self-worth. Remember, their attempts to shift the blame are not an indictment of your character, but a testament to their unwillingness to face their own. When malicious individuals realize that you've uncovered their true nature, one of their most common responses is retaliation. Retaliation can take many forms, from outright aggression to subtle, passive-aggressive behaviors, all designed to intimidate you, discredit you, or silence you. This reaction stems from their fear of exposure and their desire to regain control of the situation. Retaliation is not just an emotional outburst. It's a calculated strategy to punish you for disrupting their carefully constructed facade and to deter you from speaking out further. The first form of retaliation often involves escalating their behavior. If they were manipulative or deceitful before, they may double down on those tactics, becoming more brazen in their efforts to undermine you. This could include spreading rumors, exaggerating your flaws, or twisting the truth to paint you as the aggressor. Their goal is to shift the focus away from their actions and onto you, ensuring that they remain in control of the narrative. These become a common tactic in classic victim mentality. By portraying you in a negative light, they attempt to erode your credibility and isolate you from others who might otherwise support you. Some individuals resort to direct confrontation, using threats or intimidation to silence you. They might say things like, "You'll regret this," or "You don't know who you're dealing with." These statements are meant to instill fear and make you question whether standing up to them is worth the potential consequences. In more extreme cases, they may engage in behavior that feels invasive or threatening, such as showing up unannounced, monitoring your actions, or attempting to interfere with your personal or professional life. This form of retaliation is about asserting dominance and ensuring that you feel powerless to challenge them. For those who prefer a more covert approach, retaliation can take on a passive-aggressive tone. This might involve subtle digs, dismissive comments, or actions that seem small but are intentionally designed to provoke or frustrate you. For example, they might forget important commitments, make sarcastic remarks about your concerns, or engage in behaviors that they know will annoy or inconvenience you. So while we want to effort to forgive, not forgetting that way, these tactics are often harder to call out because they're cloaked in ambiguity, leaving you to wonder whether you're overreacting or imagining things. This ambiguity is deliberate. It's meant to keep you off balance and unsure of how to respond. Another form of retaliation is what's often referred to as character assassination. This involves a deliberate effort to tarnish your reputation by spreading lies or half-truths about you. They may reach out to mutual friends, colleagues, or even family members, sharing stories that cast you in a negative light. And this tactic serves two purposes. It isolates you by turning others against you, and it undermines your credibility, making it harder for people to believe you if you try to expose their behavior. Character assassination can be especially damaging because it exploits your relationships and forces you to defend yourself against unfounded accusations. Retaliation can also manifest as a form of emotional manipulation. Once exposed, some individuals will weaponize their emotions to make you feel guilty or ashamed for confronting them. They might cry, act devastated, or accuse you of being cruel for pointing out their behavior. While this may appear to be vulnerability, it's often a strategic move designed to shift the focus back onto their feelings and away from their actions. In The Art of Morbid Love, administrative stylists, by positioning themselves as the victim, they aim to elicit sympathy and guilt, making you less likely to pursue the matter further. In some cases, retaliation takes the form of sabotage. This could involve undermining your efforts at work, interfering in your personal relationships, or creating obstacles that make it harder for you to succeed. These acts of sabotage are often carried out in a way that allows them to maintain plausible deniability, leaving you to deal with the fallout without being able to directly attribute it to them. For example, they might accidentally miss deadlines that affect your projects, spread false information that causes conflict, or subtly sow discord among your friends or colleagues. Perhaps the most dangerous aspect of retaliation is its unpredictability. Once someone feels exposed, their actions can become increasingly erratic and irrational. They may alternate between aggressive and passive tactics, keeping you guessing about what they'll do next. This unpredictability is designed to keep you on edge, draining your energy and making you more likely to back down. The stress of dealing with their retaliation can be overwhelming, which is precisely what they're counting on. To protect yourself from retaliation, it's important to recognize it for what it is, a response driven by fear and insecurity. Their actions are not a reflection of your worth or your choices, but an attempt to reassert control in a situation where they feel vulnerable. Setting boundaries is crucial. Make it clear that you will not tolerate aggressive or manipulative behavior, and if necessary, distance yourself from the individual entirely. Seek support from trusted friends, family members, or professionals who can help you navigate the situation and provide validation for your experiences. Retaliation is a tool used by those who are unwilling to face accountability for their actions. While their tactics can be intimidating, remember that their behavior is ultimately a sign of their own weakness. By standing firm in your truth and refusing to be drawn into their games, you can protect your peace and maintain your sense of self. Recognize that their attempts to retaliate are not about you. They are about their inability to confront their own shortcomings. Stay grounded, seek support, and remind yourself that you deserve to live free from fear and manipulation. Recognizing the behaviors of malicious individuals when they know you've uncovered their true nature is essential for protecting your well-being and maintaining your sense of self. Their tactics, whether through manipulation, blame shifting, or retaliation, are designed to deflect accountability, preserve their power, and weaken your resolve. These actions are not reflections of your worth or your decisions, but are driven by their own fear of exposure and insecurity. They might try to say something. The key to navigating these situations lies in staying grounded in your truth and trusting your instincts. Do not let their attempts to manipulate, guilt, or intimidate you undermine your confidence or clarity. Instead, set firm boundaries, seek support from trusted allies, and refuse to engage in their games. Remember, the moment you stop giving their tactics power is the moment you regain control over your narrative. You deserve to live a life free from fear, doubt, and manipulation. By standing firm, holding onto your integrity, and prioritizing your peace, you demonstrate not only strength, but also the courage to protect your well-being. Let their behavior be a lesson, not a limitation, and continue to move forward with clarity, self-respect, and the unwavering belief that you are deserving of healthier, more meaningful connections.